running now. If you back up and talk to me about what the alternative to putting the wire in.
Okay,
Yes.
well, the wire also, as far as when we have this fillet down here, the wire can be bent around here, like this,
Oh, I
And
see what you mean.
maybe-
That helps. Yeah.
okay?
Yep.
And what'll happen here is this will get filled in. This has to be shaped, of
Yes.
course.
Yep.
But it'll get filled in with balsa, so I've got a good skookum
Yep.
base to glue the plywood to.
And you were saying that you have to make sure that you have that wire very secure with the CA, right?
Yeah, yeah. You have to flood it with CA pretty well. You have to be careful you don't get it underneath, otherwise you're going to have a hell of a mess underneath the trailing edge, you
Yeah.
know. Gluing, it sticks to the... And, of course, when you put glue on here, it's virtually impossible to get rid of. So,
Okay. And then this.
in other words, it's staining. You don't want it on the outside. It's okay on the inside because that's going to be covered up.
Yep.
Now, if you don't want to use, as I was saying,
Yeah.
when I cut my spar caps and this sort of thing, I save all the little pieces of wood because this is probably just as good as the metal or the
Yeah.
steel wire in a way. However, again, this won't break, but this will break.
Yeah. Yeah. I see.
So,
Also, you have to sort of notch it in to.
yeah, you'd have to cut and you have to cut a bigger segment out,
Yep.
basically.
Yep.
When I get this done and all of the webbing in and the top spar cap glued on
Right.
with the webbing and everything, then I can remove the wing from the board.
Okay.
Okay,
Tell
because
me about the webbing. Do you lift the spar cap off and lay
well,
the webbing in?
there's two ways of doing webbing,
Okay.
and I do it the stupid way. I do, unfortunately. I thought about it, but then again, for example, what you can do is you can cut the webbing on your table saw. You can cut basically, or bandsaw, whatever, the width that you want.
Yes.
These are supposed to be equal spacing. When you lay them in individually, they're not equal spacing.
Okay.
And before you know it, you've lost a half a rib bay, you know, because if you did...
It adds up. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to kind of allow for that, and I'm just not good enough at mathematics to figure it out.
Okay.
So basically what I do is I do each one individually. And
How do you do that?
I do it basically by measuring. In other words, I'll be using two pieces of 3/8 inch for the
This is your webbing material.
this will be the webbing material. Two I've already taken a
Okay.
piece off this. But if you'll notice,
Oh, isn't
that's
that
the
interesting? Yeah.
thickness of the
Got it.
two.
Okay.
Okay. So these basically will be glued together, but what I'll do here is I'll take, probably check the largest measurement here as far as width is concerned between each
Yeah.
rib. You understand what I'm saying? Probably, it's not very hard. I can compare, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll take the widest
The widest one.
spot that I have and I will cut the balsa to that deal, so I'll have two pieces down the length here.
I got it. Okay. I think I
And
understand.
they'll be glued together,
Yes.
and then what I do is I put them in. put them in like this, take my mark where that is,
Yep.
and then I would cut this off.
Yep.
Now, there's also a taper, but I would, so in other words, instead of it being this width here and here, it'll be tapered a little this way. You get what I
A
mean?
little bit higher at the front edge.
Yeah, so in other words, instead of being 90 degrees, it'll be it'll be, this I'm exaggerating,
No,
but
I
it'll
know.
be tilted like that.
Okay.
So I would take the measurement here and the measurement here. You understand what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
I hope so. The measurement would be from the,
In other words,
the top of the
you
bottom
have to
sp-
realize that these are cut to fit into here.
yes.
Okay,
Yep.
so I would lay it in, and I would, the one end would be here. This would be the low end, and then this would be the high end.
Okay.
This would be the high end,
Yep.
and then you would
Draw a straight edge.
draw a
between 'em.
line, and I'd cut it. You can cut it basically to the highest side, and then I go out on my sander and the disc sander
Yes.
and just sand the angle in.
Down to the
Yeah,
line. Okay.
So hopefully that'll fit pretty accurately.
Yep.
If it doesn't, or if I need to take some off, then I just use the
Yeah.
disc sander again.
So you just bring it back in,
And
test fit it, and then
it's
take
a
it
very tedious process.
back. Yeah, because everyone's
Yeah,
custom built.
Yeah, and a lot of people build their whole spar assembly on the table, and when they put this, lay it down here, basically they have to cut the ribs off, which I don't like.
Okay.
In other words, they have to cut their ribs through, all the way through. Instead of here, they have to cut it all the way through,
Yeah.
and they have to cut it all the way through, and the
And then glue the.
yeah, and then you've got two ribs. You got a
Yeah.
nose rib and the trailing edge.
This way you've got
Part.
material going right through.
And unless you put, as far as I'm concerned, unless you put a reinforcement here, like
yeah. Yeah.
here and here, this edge
It'll be too
glue
weak.
joint is
Yeah.
just not good enough for
Got
me.
it. Got it.
Okay,
I understand.
because the next thing you know, your wing's going to break.
Yep.
Um,
But the other nice thing about when you custom fit them all, then where you glue that joint, right? It's all very, what's the word I'm looking for? It's tight already, right? So you don't need a lot of.
Well, hopefully it is. Yeah, if you've got to be pretty accurate with your
Yeah.
cutting. I mean, you can't leave an open glue joint.
Yeah, I was going to say you're not trying to fill gaps with your glue, basically,
No,
right?
that's right.
Okay.
And if there is a difference, if you do happen to have a gap, then I shim it.
Yeah.
So that the gap is filled up.
Okay.
But the only difference between this, in other words, the grain will be running vertical,
Yes.
and the rib runs horizontal, and there would be a certain amount of weakness there, but if it's glued tight, it shouldn't really affect it at all.
Yep.
I've never had a problem with it anyway,
Okay.
but it is tedious, having to do. I've got 40. I've got 80
Ouch.
some odd. So
Okay.
that's one of the reasons I hate building wings.
Okay.
Then I have to cut out for the ailerons, and I have to cut out for for the spoiler area, spoiler bay.
Okay.
With the aileron spars, I'm going to use 3/8 inch stock
Okay.
for the leading and the trailing, for the for the leading edge of the aileron and the trailing edge of the wing section.
Got it.
So that'll be 3/8 inch sheet. This is 3/8, but it's not wide enough. Of course.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, what I do here is I take where the line of the leading edge of the spar slot would be here.
Okay.
And I do the same thing with every rib where that line is.
You're using the line on the plan, right?
That's right.
To line it up.
Yep.
Okay.
And then I do the back one
Yep.
also. I don't know whether you can see
I
that.
can. Yes, I can.
See it? I line that up and draw that
Yep.
line.
Okay.
Then, when I'm ready to do the aileron, I use my trusty old saber saw here
Yep.
and saw it down the line, saw it down here.
Yep.
And then this thing just falls,
Yeah, that part of the wing
yeah.
trailing edge just drops away.
Then I just take the trailing edge, the 3/8 inch, push it up against here and glue it. And it's done.
Okay.
Then I have to, of course, trim it off to the height of the rib
Yeah.
and this sort of thing, but I do that with a little block plane.
Okay.
With the leading edge of the aileron,
I was going to ask you that. How do you build the aileron in place? Up, like put the.
no, I don't usually.
Okay.
What I do is I take this thing whole aileron comes loose
Yeah.
basically. I start down here with the first rib, and
How wide is this aileron going to be,
well,
roughly? Okay.
this is the leading edge of the.
No, I meant how long, I guess is what I should have asked. How long is the aileron?
Well, it'll be
All the way out to,
yeah, all the way out
okay,
to where it is.
right at the end
The
here,
aileron
before
goes
the
out.
tip.
The aileron goes out right to here.
Okay, thanks. Okay.
When I have the aileron loosed, what I'll do is I'll take it. This is all glued, of course, as you know,
Yes.
and I do it in my hand. I lay the leading edge of the aileron down, make sure that it's straight on the bottom,
Yeah.
okay? And you can either do it that way or you can lay it in and glue the stuff, but I find that it's just as easy to take the whole trailing edge, start at one end here,
Here's a.
glue the rib on,
Yeah.
and or you can take it. This is a little bit tricky as far as trying to describe it.
I was going to say, why don't we wait until you're at that stage, right?
Yeah.
And then I'll come back and we could actually film it, bits of it anyway, while you're doing it,
Yeah.
or when you're sort of almost ready to do that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But frequently, the thing is you have to be sure that your trailing edge is straight.